Hey guys, welcome to the Provokers Podcast, where we talk about things that you probably should too. Today I'm joined by...
I'm Jeevan Stevens, also known as John.
And I am your host for this episode, Ethan, otherwise known as FlabsXE Gaming. And let's just cut the chit-chat, John, because we have a very special guest joining us today, as people can see in the title. So welcome to the Provokers Podcast stage, Chase Hartman. He is a voice actor, a very excellent voice actor, which I'll get to in his background in a second. But Chase, you want to introduce yourself, man?
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me, Ethan. I'm a voice actor. I've done over 70 commissioned jobs now in a variety of video games and animations and all sorts of things. And I've also been in, I think, 13 or 14 films, and I'm working on my 10th stage show right now. So I do all kinds of different acting.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't even know about the film, so that's awesome. I knew you were obviously a voice actor. I didn't know about the film, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're all three different types of acting. They're very different, but, you know, there's... like they all feel very differently depending on which one you're doing, but they all have a lot of crossover as well.
Right, yeah. And if you guys are coming from my channel specifically, you might actually recognize Chase's voice right now, even though he's not specifically in character. And that's because if you followed the ARG over my channel, it was spanned across 10 seasons. It's not done yet, but it's like the season 10 was kind of like the chapter end for that section of story. But Chase actually voices Herobrine in that ARG. He was this malevolous killer. Obviously, that's what Herobrine is in the whole like lore of him. He played the character, and I wanted to make sure that I found a solidified person that I'm like, yes, this person needs to play this character. And that's how I worked with all the other characters as well. So when I was in the midst of season 5, or I think it was, Herobrine was introduced at the season finale of season 5. And so I think it was like mid-season 5, I'm looking around and I'm like, you know, these people sound great, but I'm not sensing it. It's like a thing that your gut tells you. And then I come across Chase, and I'm like, okay, let me listen to his demos that's on the Fiverr page. And I listened to it, and I'm like, it was just that gut feeling. I'm like, yep, he's the one right here. So, and the rest is history at that point, because he's been in a variety of different episodes, mostly season finales, because Herobrine is a big villain in the story. So he's mainly seeded throughout the different finales. And like I said, if you watched the ARG, Herobrine's story never actually concluded yet, because, like I said, the ARG's not done yet. So yeah, if you have come from my channel, you know, then you might have recognized the Chase voice, and that's who he plays. So.
Yes, it has been very fun to play Herobrine in your series. It actually, fun fact about it, you actually were my very first client on Fiverr, or one of my very first ones, and you also have been one of my most recurring ones as well. And you're always very pleasant to work with, and I always am happy when I get a new order from you. So I appreciate you supporting me from the very beginning.
It is so weird to hear a compliment in that tonality. It's like it's like the guy that plays I don't remember his name. John might. It's the guy that's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If it's like that guy. And then he was on a late night show or whatever, and someone asked to have, like, he wanted them to threaten him or whatever. And all he did was compliment him, but it was in his deep and like evil voice. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that.
It is funny. It's always funny when somebody who plays a very evil character is just like so different in person.
Exactly.
Like, one of my favorite villains of all time, his name is Madara Uchiha from the Naruto series, and he's so like cold in the show, but in person I met his voice actor, and his voice actor was one of the nicest people you'd ever meet. And there was a long line of people behind me when I met him, but he still like took time to make me feel special and give me like a custom signature on the thing. So, like,
that's awesome.
It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome, yeah. I think, and we're going to get into villains actually today, because as you just heard, Chase specializes in villain voiceovers. But before we get into that, so I want to do a little bit of introduction thing here. So we're going to do the classic, like, you're in 5th grade, your teacher is like, all right, stand up and say your name, give one interesting fact about yourself, the thing that no one wanted to do. We're going to do it here just because, you know, I think it's going to be fun. So, Chase, we obviously know your name already, so you don't need to say that again. But we are curious. We want to know some information about you, some basic information. So what's your favorite food? And then what's your favorite hobby outside of voice acting?
All right. Good question. Let's see. My favorite food is macaroni and cheese. It's so good. Although I don't eat much of it these days because I've been working on my health. I've lost a lot of weight, so
well,
not too
congratulations.
much mac and cheese for me anymore, sadly.
Well, that's fair.
And yeah. And my favorite hobbies, I have so many hobbies.
That's good.
I'm also writing. I write fiction.
Love to see
I
it.
love storytelling, and I love going on day trips and exploring, and I love playing badminton and being active, and lots and lots of walking and listening to audiobooks. And for my profession, I actually am a videographer. So, I love to be on camera as an actor, but my main money source is being a professional videographer and working with different companies to highlight their business, to highlight their services, and make advertisements and things like that.
Interesting. So you're starting to sound like the jack of all trades here. So you got writing, you got voice acting, you got actual acting, you got videography, like you got writing. I think I already said that. I'm losing my mind. It's fine. You got all these different things you got going for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all very, a lot of it is kind of different aspects to the creative field. So I feel like, the more videography I do, the better I understand what it is like to, like, if I'm acting, I understand like what the director is looking for, or if I'm directing, I understand how to communicate with the actor in a way that I know the actor will understand, because I've been on both sides of it. And so now, like, when I watch a animation or when I watch a film, for example, I'm thinking about the writing of it from a writer's standpoint. I'm thinking about the acting of it from an actor's standpoint. I'm thinking about the cinematography of it from like the cinematography standpoint, and even like the scene setting, the lighting aspects, like every different facet of it, and the music too. Every different facet of it, I'm kind of feeling it out from the perspective of someone who actually creates those things. So it makes it a very enriching experience.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is you just need to start directing movies at this point. You need to show up all the people that are in Hollywood right now. Be like, hey, let's make some actual good movies. This everything out here sucks right now. Let's make some good movies.
Yeah, I would love to. I've been very absorbed in a story I'm working on that's it's set in Florida. This will be the first book I've ever published, and it's set in Florida. People with superpowers who are fighting in these intense fights, like in these real world Florida locations, where it's like the state of Florida is kind of like a character in itself, just because there's so much personality here. So, all the different, the rocket launches, the theme parks, the beaches, all the crazy stuff you'd find in Florida is like part of the story of all these, So
right.
I've been having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, you need to tell me when that's released so I can grab a copy, because I'm actually writing a book too. I'm hoping to get that done this year as well.
What's your book about?
So mine's about it's about these people that are completely ordinary. They're in high school. They're completely ordinary. They have nothing fun going on in their lives, and then all of a sudden the main character kind of gets pulled into this manipulative kind of, I would say, relationship, but they're not. It's a relationship, but platonic. And the person that brought them into this is the world's creator. It's think of they created the world, but they still they're not all powerful, but they created the world still. And then this person is coercing the main character into doing all these bad things that they don't see as bad, but they're just being told to do them, so they think it's fine. And then eventually the main character catches on that this is all a grift and that they're being tricked. And so they kind of slowly detach from this, obviously super powerful being. And eventually this powerful being starts destroying worlds. When I say timeline, I don't mean one branch of time in different directions. It's I'm talking different worlds. So they start destroying all these different worlds, killing every single person that's in this world. And the main character vows to make sure that he tries to stop her at all costs. So.
Very cool. Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of their series that I'm a part of. I definitely kind of see what your style of storytelling is there.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like you got it's a lot of creative endeavors, and it's a lot of stuff that if you chose to do it that way, that it's a lot of income source as well. And that's truly how you obviously I'm not a financial advisor whatsoever, so no one take any financial advice from me. But it's a great way to kind of achieve financial freedom faster. The more income sources you have, the better.
Yeah.
So it's
Definitely. I feel like it could go both ways, right? I feel like if I probably just chose one thing and just locked in on it, I could be more profitable. But my thing is, I enjoy doing all these things so much. I don't want to be like pigeonholed into any one specific niche. Like, I love all the different things that I do so much that I just kind of flip between doing all of them and, you know, kind of make money from different ones at different times. And I get to do everything that I love. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's true. And obviously,
What is
John,
your profession?
What was that, sorry?
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry. What is your profession?
Oh, so my profession right now, it's a mix between this and then I'm going to be working for a bank. It's kind of what it is now. It's going to slowly evolve into primary focus on this, and then game creation is what's going to be after this.
Nice. Very cool. I could definitely see you making some good video games. It's clear you have a passion for like video games and for storytelling, so you could combine them to create some really interesting game narratives.
Yeah, I like to hope so. But yeah, so John, you've been a part of this podcast for a while, obviously. But so again, we don't need your name. Obviously, we know that. But give us your favorite food. We kind of might have already known this already. But so actually, you know what? Give us your second favorite food because your first favorite's already out there. And because we already know your hobbies, kind of, tell us your favorite challenge run that you've ever done on Twitch.
Okay. Yeah, so for Chase, if you don't know, I stream challenge runs on Twitch, and I'll answer the food one first because I was like, all right, I got my favorite food locked and loaded, and then you twisted it up on me and said,
yeah, switch it up.
Food. I'm like, hey, I honestly don't know. Like, if I were to go based on what I have the most, it'd probably be like burgers or something. That's a little basic. So I'm gonna say I really like the pain to eat and expensive, so I don't get it that much. But crab legs are really good. But like I said, pain to eat and expensive, so I only get it every now and then.
Crab meat is so good, dude.
Yeah, yep. I agree. Same thing with John, is I don't have it very much at all, but when I do, I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah, if
And
you go to like a seafood restaurant, it's just you have to work for the food.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. But to answer the favorite challenge run, that's a good question because I do so many that are like it's either really difficult or it takes me a long time to do, or like really easy. So I feel like one that was a good balance. It's got to be probably Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Permadeath. That took me a good while to do, but it was very rewarding because the gameplay is designed for you to like fully understand the mechanics to do well. It's similar to a Souls game, but not quite as difficult, in my opinion.
John, do you do the
So I think that one was
Souls
probably
runs?
my favorite. And it was that?
Do you do like the Elden Ring and the Dark Souls runs with no armor? The people who just use like a club and underwear?
I haven't gotten that far yet. I played through Elden Ring with a buddy of mine. We did the seamless co-op mod. So me and my buddy played through the game. I've thought about doing some Elden Ring challenge runs because that game is a lot of fun.
Yeah, people like fighting.
I don't know website because everyone's done. All the challenge runs have done the naked club only run, right? So I would want to vary it up a bit.
What other kind of challenges do you do?
Well, I've done some level 1 runs of various games, or like as base level as you can for like RPGs and whatnot. The easiest challenges that I tend to do are like, can I beat this game without, and then something that you would associate heavily with that game. So I did God of War without the axe or the blades, and it just used my fists and shield. That one was a lot of fun. And then I also have, I guess speed runs. There's one I did recently, which could technically be considered a speed run, but it was I was playing Resident Evil 4 remake on the hardest difficulty and trying to get S plus rank, which to do that you need to beat it in 5.5 hours or less and only save 15 times. And when you die, you have to go back to your save. So like you really gotta manage when you want to save versus when there's a tough section of the game.
Yep.
Pretty cool. You must have developed some very strong skills. Yeah, there's some crazy challenges out there.
Yeah, patience is definitely one of those skills you got to have, because I could not do those at all. I mean, there might be a couple of challenges I could do here and there for certain games, but when he tells me the challenges he's doing, I'm like, I would not have the patience for that. I don't know how you manage that.
Determination and endurance, man, the willpower.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it really is just the willingness to bang my head against the wall for hours at a time.
That's fair. As for me, I feel like my life's pretty out there already. So there's probably not much you couldn't find out about me, but in terms of favorite food, I've talked across the stars is chicken pot pie. There's nothing you can beat it for me. But second favorite, you get a little bit more into niche stuff. I think second favorite would be like a good chicken Alfredo. Can't really go wrong. Yeah. Especially if it's from like an authentic Italian place. Like they do it so well, obviously. And
good taste.
Yeah, a little thing about John here, Chase, is he's part Italian, so he gets to judge on all the chicken Alfredos he has, you know. So
dude, it's like macaroni and cheese's more sophisticated cousin, kind of.
Yeah.
Right. That's a fair way of putting it.
So yeah, that's definitely my second favorite, I'd say. I think before, when I mentioned this on the actual podcast, it was chicken bacon ranch pizza. It's now been shifted to chicken Alfredo. So yeah, then hobbies, I mean, like I said, this is the thing that I didn't know what to say here, because I'm pretty sure everything I've ever done is out there. So I guess I'll just go with development, because that could apply to game development, that could apply to software development, it could really apply to anything. So that's a bit more niche of what I do. I don't mention it all the time, but everything else I've mentioned, like writing, reading, gaming, obviously is in the name. So all that stuff I didn't feel like mentioning, because it's what you already figured that out. If you've been listening to this podcast for at least, I want to say, a month, you already knew that stuff. So
can you explain to me what your name means on there?
You know what? It's a great question, and I really don't have an answer for you, because this was my Xbox 360 name back in the day, and my 12-year-old self probably had a reason. And
you don't remember it.
I don't remember it. I do know that flab is a abbreviation of flabbiest, actually, which I believe means like, I'd have to look that up again. Flabbiest is an actual word. So flabs is an abbreviation of that. XZ, I think, was just the cool thing to do back in the day. It's either that or someone did the triple X's or whatever. I chose to do the XZ. Yeah. And then gaming, I probably just threw in there because I loved games. So that's probably the best explanation I can give you, because I don't honestly know myself. But because I started a YouTube channel with it, I just had to keep the branding, which I'm okay with it. It's not a bad name.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool that you have kept that something for so long. That's just like a alternate identity that's been with you since you were 12 years old. Yep,
exactly. So yeah, I think we can move on into the topic for today, which is gonna, like I said, I don't know what to call the topic. It's gonna be like voice acting, what I guess would be the general name of it if you wanted to name it. But we're gonna be talking about obviously voice acting, since Chase is here. He's a professional voice actor. We're also gonna be diving deep into how a voice actor can really portray a character and make them shine throughout the story. And then we're also going to be talking about villains and how villain structure is needed, because if you're having a story with an antagonist, you need a good villain. Otherwise, it's like you're reading or playing the game, whatever medium you're engaging in. You're like, man, this villain kind of sucks. I can, like, this protagonist just needs to get to them, and then it's just a one-shot kill, done. It's like, it's over. If you want a good story, you really need a good villain. And again, that applies to any medium. That applies to books, video games, movies, whatever. I think one of the best I would say one of the best villains in movies I would point to is Thanos, because When you left the theater in Avengers Endgame, it was dead silence. And this is spoilers, but if you haven't watched Avengers or Infinity War at this point, get on that. It's been 10 years. So obviously he wins, right? And it's one of the first times. I think there might have been a few movies before that where the villain won, but it was one of the first movies where the villain won. And not only did he win, a lot of people that you cared about on the screen died, or at least what we thought died, right? So it was complete silence. I was there I was on one of the opening days for Infinity War. It was complete silence as you walked out of that theater. And that's how powerful that villain was. And obviously that all led up to Endgame, which was even better. So villains really kind of build the story as much as the protagonist does. And I always stand by that, because you can have a great protagonist and have a crappy villain, and then the whole story's garbage, because it's like, what's the point in chasing this person if they're not that good, or if they have no purpose to the story, type of thing. But before we get into that, I think it's worthy to note is so Chase, how long have you been doing like villain specific voiceovers? I'm very curious about that.
Mm-hmm. I started around 2021, and I would say I did not go into it like initially intending to specialize in villains. I just started, practicing different things. I started doing fan dubs, just taking clips of my favorite animes or video games and just voicing them. And once I had done a bit of practice with that, I'd say I did maybe 10 fan dubs. Then I got on Fiverr and started doing work on there. And my most successful gig by far has been the villain gig. So I do other types as well, but I feel like what people want most from me is the villain work. That's what resonates with people most, as far as, when they're looking at which voice actors to hire. They tend to see me as the best fit for that. And it also happens to just be my favorite type of work. I think it's just, I enjoy playing the villain. I think my voice, when I get into like the villain mode, is the best suited for the voice that I have. And I do play some other types of characters, but I enjoy villains the most, and I get hired the most for villains. Right.
Yeah, it makes sense, honestly. I mean, I think I knew you did other stuff, but I'm like, this guy absolutely needs to voice the villain that I'm creating right now. He did this cut and dry. No, I'm not. I think I messaged you, and then I didn't even search for anyone else. Because what I'll do sometimes is I'll message people. I'll message like 5 people, and whoever gets back to me the fastest. And once they give me like a price range, I'll like decide based on that. I think I messaged you, and they're like, I don't even need to message anyone else. I'm done. I don't need to look around. I'm good.
It's very flattering to hear. So I'm curious if you remember at all, whether for me or for another character. Like you as the casting director, when you said that you heard my voice and you were like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Do you remember what exactly stood out to you about mine, or why you thought it was the best fit for the character as opposed to any of the other ones that you heard?
Yeah, so a lot of the other people, so what I will say, a lot of the other people that I heard, and I'm not going to name names obviously, is it sounded very almost forced, if that makes sense. It sounded like their vocal range didn't really get to that deep, broody villain voice they were trying to get to. And it wasn't bad, it just sounded like it was out of their range type of thing. And so I ran into a lot of that. I ran into, the one person was pretty decent, but they were, I think it was $500 for, what was it? $500 for like 200 words or something. I forget how it was. And I'm like, yeah, you might be good, but you're a little too high. So
yeah.
And then I think that was the main 2 issues was, to me, they seemed like they were pushing too hard. And then the other reasons, a couple other times, I was like, yeah, this person might be good, but they're a little bit out of my price range.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, actually. Because I feel like when I do the villain voice, I don't have to push it into something. I feel like it's more of a relaxing into it type of state. It's not like I am trying to push an evil sound out. It's more just like when I calm, right? So the voice, I kind of have a few different voices I use. The voice I'm speaking with right now is kind of if I'm doing a podcast, or if I'm doing a presentation, or if I'm doing anything like this, or any kind of voiceover, corporate voiceover, this is like my voice for that. And then when I do the villain voice, it gets like an octave deeper. I kind of pull it down further back into my throat, and it has a little bit more of like the words, they kind of linger for a little bit longer. Like I don't cut them off as abruptly. They kind of linger in the air a little bit. And then when I'm actually speaking, out in public or talking to friends, I kind of talk a little bit higher. Like this would be my voice if I'm at rehearsal or if I'm at work. It's like a little bit higher register than kind of back to here would be if I'm behind a microphone doing something that I want like a very clear sound.
Right. Yeah, and to kind of further answer your question, actually, is when I listened to your demos that you had on your webpage there, the villain that I was creating, obviously I mentioned before for you guys is Herobrine. And again, if you haven't seen the ARG, don't worry, it's not you don't need to listen to the ARG to enjoy this episode. But it's just Herobrine that I was creating. Because Herobrine, if you don't know what that is, it's a kind of creepypasta that Minecraft had for a while now. Even Mojang kind of played into it. And he was kind of just this creepy ambiance. He never really, like, in most of the lore that he had, he never really attacked anybody necessarily. He was kind of just an onlooker. He was kind of just stalking you from the shadows type of guy. I wanted to take that a step further and have him be an actual threatening villain. And so the way I kind of wrote Herobrine is kind of the villain that's like so insane that it's terrifying. Because he has no morality, he has no humanity in him, he's completely gone, there's no chance of redeeming him. That's how, like, he's just that far gone. And so when I wrote that as his character description, I was like, I need to find someone whose voice can adapt to that. Because if I find someone whose, like, villain is kind of like, think of like Thanos, right? The guy that plays Thanos. He's not the type of villain that's, like, so far gone that he's like so frighteningly insane that's how far gone he is. He's definitely evil, for sure. But he's not, like, crazy insane, right? And so when I found your stuff, I'm like, this guy can definitely get there. I believe it 100%. He can absolutely get there.
Yeah. That type of villain that, Thanos or Herobrine to an extent would be, they're not like crazy villains. They're like very intelligent villains. They're very like self-aware. It's definitely clear that they're thinking about each thing that they say. With Herobrine, I would say there's a little bit more brooding, a little bit more like hatred in his voice for sure. With Thanos, it's more like clear, like almost like a prophet speaking.
Yeah.
But then other types of villains that I just finished an order for one a couple days ago for a character called Brahimada. It's an animated series that it's like Brahimada is like the Thanos of this animated series in the sense that the entire universe is teaming up to fight him, and he's like completely unhinged. So he speaks, like, he screams, he goes crazy, he's like all the evil laughs, like the crazy over the top evil laughs, the screaming like I'll kill you. Like he's just completely the opposite of Thanos. Thanos feels like he has full control over himself. Versus a character like Brahimada just seems like his emotions completely rule over him. And that's a lot of that is conveyed in the voice. Or then, there's other villains like Girahim from Skyward Sword is an example of that people might know, Zelda villain. But they're more of a like flamboyant trickster type. So it's kind of like they have a little more energy over the top, and they still kind of like to punch certain words or get a little bit angry sometimes. But more so, they're kind of theatrical, like they want to put on a show. So that's like another very different type of villain that's also very fun to play.
Yeah, that's true. And so, John, you play a lot. You watch a lot more movies than I do, and you also play a lot of like games that have those types of villains. I'm curious, when you play a game or when you watch a movie, what to you in a villain really stands out? What really makes you as the viewer or like the engager, I guess, makes you really actually feel like, oh crap, this villain's the real deal?
That's a good question. I mean, I was initially thinking of one of my favorite games of all time, Kingdom Hearts 2. There are two villains in particular, and what Chase was saying about the different types of villains made me think of it. Was there's one character who's like extremely angry, and like when you fight him, he's just screaming at you the whole time, and you can like every line he does is you can like hear the anger in his voice. And then the very next boss after that is a boss is the character has no emotions at all. And so all of his lines are very like soft spoken, like whispery almost. Like when you play the game, you can't even hear what he's saying. And those two, like dynamics being in contrast made it look like those are very different types of voice acting, but I'm sure it takes just as much talent.
Definitely.
But in terms of a villain that stands out to me, the one that I initially think of is the Green Goblin in No Way Home, played by Willem Dafoe. Like every second he's on screen, he's like, that guy's up to something. I'm not happy about him. He's freaking me out.
Right. Yeah, I think that actually, that's a good call out, actually. I kind of forgot about that. But that actually kind of plays into what Chase was saying earlier, which is that the villains that are really scary to me especially, but John just called it out too, is that the villain that's always kind of like 3 steps ahead of the protagonist. They're always 3 steps ahead. They're planning something. You know they're up to something. They're in a room with the protagonist. You're like, something bad's gonna happen here. Like, you automatically feel it. And when there's a bad villain on screen, you're like, okay, can we just kill this guy already? Like, can we just end this already? Right. But with the Green Goblin, with I guess Herobrine in this case, you're just like, oh, they're up to something. This isn't good.
Right. Another type of villain that I really like, which it's not necessarily a type of villain, it's more of a personality trait that some of them have, is when they are willing to compliment their opponent genuinely. For example, Tony Stark, or Thanos saying, Tony Stark, I know you. They'll remember you, right? Or going back to Madara, the Naruto villain, one of the most hype moments in the series is when he's fighting a character. He goes like, and the villain, Madara, says, in all my years of fighting, he's like, I've never encountered someone like you. I declare you to be the strongest opponent I've ever faced. Like, when they're like willing to give out compliments, or they're willing to recognize like the strength or the character of the people they're fighting, but still willing to kill them, I always think that that's a very interesting dynamic.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, when I think of that kind of character, I'm trying to think of like characters that I know of. But yeah, you're right. That is I almost think that's a lesser used trait that some of the villains have. A lot of villains that are bad are just kind of evil for the sake of being evil. They have no motive. They don't have a clear motive. They don't have really much personality. They're just kind of blasé. And unfortunately, a lot of movie villains are kind of like that. But you're right. Thanos saying to Tony Stark, "I know you." They're going to remember you, or like that kind of stuff. Like, and then throwing out the compliments. It's a very interesting dynamic. It's almost like trying to remember what I first thought when he said that in the theater. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Like, kind of like, why is he complimenting him right now?
Are you familiar with Jujutsu Kaisen?
I've heard of that, yes, but I don't honestly know much about it.
Well, there's a huge fight in the series with this villain who up until now has proved to be like completely evil. And he fights and he defeats one of the main characters. That's this like huge hyped up fight. And it's like a crushing defeat. But as he's looking over the enemy that he's defeated, this very evil guy, he says to the guy who he defeated, he goes, "You were magnificent, and I will never forget you for as long as I live." And I'm like, I love that, because this dude is very evil, but he's also willing to acknowledge strength. He's willing to acknowledge the good fight that was put up against him. And that shows more to me than someone who just has like no control over their emotions. Right,
exactly. And I think going back to, again, I don't want to just keep promoting my OG, but with Herobrine, right? So with Herobrine, the way I wanted to introduce Herobrine is I needed the viewer / listener, depending on how you look at it, I needed them to understand that this guy was an immediate threat. He is dangerous. He needs to be stopped. Pin it in the blank right there. There's no like, oh, he can be redeemed. Oh, he's not so evil. No, he's evil. And so, for anyone that hasn't watched it, I'm gonna spoil it a little bit here. Is he gets sent out to go kill Sayori, who Sayori is from a different game that she was recently brought into what the middle world is called, the Digital Void. And she gets brought into it. She has no idea where she is, and then the first person she meets is Herobrine, and he just goes,
how unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. And she's scared. She's alone. She calls out for her friends, and they don't come because they don't know where she is. And Herobrine is just like threatening her. He's getting closer and closer until he eventually literally just stabs her. And that's it. And she dies. And that's it. There's no hero that comes to save the day. There's no redemption. There's no like, oh, Sayori had a gun in her back pocket. No, it's over. She's done. And that really showed, and I got feedback on this actually from the viewers, is they were like, this guy is bad. He is dangerous. He just killed on sight. There's no redeeming him. He needs to be stopped immediately. And that's exactly what I was aiming for. And I think with the help of Chase, we very much accomplished the first introduction to Herobrine in that series. So
awesome. What kind of an audience do you have on it? Is there like do you have kind of like a core group of people who follow along with all the videos?
Yeah, it's definitely a core group for sure. Because we're not really, on my channel, I'm not known for it just yet. It's mainly just like the variety gaming that I'm known for. But what I have is in the homepage, I think it's one of the first things listed is called the Lost Episodes. That's where the whole story is. But it's definitely like a core group of people. I want to say it's like 15-ish people that are kind of like following the story. 15, and then there's this one guy that will straight up write a college essay about the lore of the series, which I'm listen, I tip of the cap to the effort because that's awesome. And there's a couple times where I'm not going to specify, obviously, but he's been right a couple of times. And it's just like, it's another thing too I want to mention with my story, and to anyone writing stories out there as well, is if you're doing a thing where it's multiple episodes or it's multiple books or however you're doing it, if people predict your story, don't try and change it just because people predicted it. Because it's been shown time and time again that when you do that, you kind of fumble with it, because you try to change it. The best example of this actually is in the gaming universe, it's Hello Neighbor. MatPat, who's the game theorist, predicted the entire game, and then they were like, oh no, he predicted it, we gotta shift this whole thing. And they did, and then the game flopped. So it's not a good idea to kind of shift your narrative. And so what happened is, again, I'm not gonna specify, because that'd give it too much away, is the person that, like I said, writes the college essays, he predicted one of the things, that he predicted like a major plot point that was gonna happen. And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, they got me. they caught on. And it was actually in relation to Herobrine, actually. So this is that's why I'm bringing it up, because it's pretty relevant, actually. And I'm like, okay, they're reading him like an open book right now. I need to, should I change it or should I not change it? I'm like, no, I need to stay the course. They predicted it. That's fine. Good for them. But I need to keep on with this thing, because that is how I wanted to make sure Herobrine as a character was true to what he continued to be, if that makes sense.
Right. So even if you don't change plot points, have you ever been influenced by a comment like that? Like, oh, that's a good idea. Have you ever been influenced to change, or maybe not change, but like implement anything that you saw based on a comment? Honestly,
so what I will say is there's been several times where I've read people's comments, especially like the essay person, and I've been like, I don't want to admit it, but this story is a lot more elaborate than my story is currently. Because he'll say something that's like, he'll pull out like, there's this one episode. It was called The Fall of Tinetown. I'm not going to explain the plot because my goodness, we'd be here all day. But the college essay he wrote, he like was pulling up like he was talking about the story and how all the different outcomes and like that kind of stuff. And that was actually the first episode that had a viewer choice. You could choose which, kind of the thing of like Inspiration Markiplier. You could choose which way you wanted to go. And this man pulled up like nuclear radius statistics on where a bomb would how the radius would affect the thing. Like I would have to read it again, but like this man pulled out all the stops to try and figure out what was going on. It's like
that must be a very awesome feeling though, to have some, know that there's people who are so invested in your work and like excited for what you're going to make next. I feel like it's probably a lot of pressure, but also really like flattering and very fun to have fans like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like every time I see his paragraph, I'm like, all right, let's dive into it. Let's see what we got here.
That sounds like so much fun. I hope I definitely have something similar like that in the future once I start publishing things.
You absolutely will. Yeah, don't even worry about it. You absolutely will.
Thank you.
But so John, with your so you said like Green Goblin, right? So Green Goblin is kind of like this, like he's up to something kind of villain, right? Is there any games that you play that kind of have that type of villain in it? where it's like they're on screen, maybe they're even with the protagonist. You're like, this isn't right. Something's going on here.
That's a good question. There's a character in Kingdom Hearts that reminds me of that, but there's so little is known about them that I don't want to get into it because it's hard for me even to say that they're a villain. It's like that's how little is known about them. So I'm gonna go down a different route and say God of War Ragnarok when Odin's on screen. It's like what Mimiya says about him is like 100% accurate. He said the line I think is if he tells you snow is white, he's lying, and that's exactly what Odin's character in that game is like, because every single thing he says could be true, but there's some sort of lie about it. There's some sort of like manipulation, some sort of false truth about it, or like not giving the full story, or saying things just to get someone annoyed. Like not as almost everything he says is a complete lie or close to it. But he says it so charismatically that like when you're playing the game, it's like, is he telling the truth? Like, is this guy like for real, or is everybody completely like wrong about him? And the answer is no. They're not. He is wrong. He is lying.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I only played the game once, so I feel like when I played it though, I felt the same way. It's like this guy is just full of crap. He's just like, I don't believe anything he says anymore. And it's that kind of villain too that it's shying away from what we were talking about before, which is that the villain that's kind of like they're so unpredictable you don't know what's coming type of villain. Trying to think. I mean, Thanos in Endgame was kind of like that. Infinity War is very predictable because obviously he was just after the stones. In Endgame, though, he shifts his plan from instead of, let me get the gauntlet and erase half the universe, he's like, I'm going to just end the universe. I hate everybody. They're trying to ruin my plans. They all get to die now. So that's a more of a stretchy example because you could say he's also just pure evil in that movie. But I get what you're saying, yeah. With Odin and Ragnarok, there, it's definitely the type of villain that's like they're so unpredictable because you can't trust anything they're saying. Because, like John said, it could be truth, it could be a lie, but probably a lie because they have ulterior motives. And I think too with certain villains, because obviously, like I mentioned with Herobrine, he's just evil. There's there's no redeeming qualities with him. But some villains will almost like fight alongside the heroes for a while, and then once their stars don't align anymore, they'll stab them in the back type of villains. Those villains are more cliche, but depending on how the author or whoever's directing it, depending on how they do it, it could actually be a very good twist. Because if you're not expecting that person to be the villain, you're like, oh my goodness, they were evil the whole time. But instead, you get some scenarios where it's like, yeah, I can see that they were the villain from a mile away. Like, it's just, like you could tell that they were the villain. And I'm not a big fan of those ones because it's like, the second they're on screen, it's like, yep, that's him right there. Lock him up right now. And obviously, the protagonist doesn't know that. Right. But the villains where they're kind of among the shadows, they help the they help the protagonist, but they kind of don't show off that they even have ulterior motives. They're just kind of just helping the villain. It seems like they're on the good side. And then once the protagonist and them catch or defeat whoever, they're like, oh, by the way, stab. You're dead now. It's like those types of villains, it's very surprising. And I'm actually watching a show right now where there was a villain that wasn't obvious to me at all. And I'm a story writer. I should have figured it out, but I didn't. So those type of villains can be quite scary, but scary in a different way. Scary in the sense that you didn't know they were even the villain in the first place.
Yeah, it's interesting. Different types of stories can work with different villains. So, like a couple examples of this, Lord of the Rings, one of the best stories ever written, but Sauron, right? He doesn't have character depth. He's just basically like a force of nature, which on paper it's like, oh, that sounds like it'd be boring, but it is one of the best, if not like the best fiction ever written, I think. It just worked really well, versus there's other stories that the more the heroes and villains are much more like blurred, like something like Game of Thrones. Or for example, my story that I'm working on, actually, it's like very, the villains get just as much screen time as the heroes. They're technically the antagonists, but like my antagonist characters get just as much, if not more, character development and character arcs as the protagonists do. And like, I like having, when I'm writing something, I like putting a lot of focus on the antagonist. And in some stories, or like Dragon Ball, for example, Frieza is just evil, but that works for that story. Whereas that caricature, or was that character type of character might harm another story. So it really is just a story, just on story basis, that some need much more antagonistic depth because that's like an important part of them, and some of them work more with just like a pure evil character.
Right. And I mean, it's going more into that, Chase. So when you're preparing to go into a villain, obviously, since there's so many different villains you probably voiced, let's specifically go to the amazing Herobrine that you obviously voiced. So when you're about to go into into reading the script, how do you kind of prepare yourself for that? Because obviously it's not your normal voice you're using. It's a more like obviously sinister voice you're going for. So how do you kind of prepare for that? Do you have any like specific tips and tricks you do, or like how does that work for you?
So when I'm acting, there is I guess it's best described as acting's version of flow state. If you're familiar with flow state, it's like, or for those of you who are not, it would be athletes can enter it, or if you're playing a fighting game or any video game or any task you're doing, from video editing to acting to being in a boxing ring, it is like when you are completely in the zone, you are completely absorbed in what you're doing and not thinking about anything else. And you can do that with acting, where there's been times where, right, I have tried to cry for scenes and it's difficult. And then other times where I was just not even thinking about crying, not even trying to cry. But I was so in character, so in that zone, that the tears just started flowing out naturally. And so when it comes to voice acting, I actually find that between theater, film, and voice acting is the easiest to fully get into character, because on a film there's cameras, on a theater there's an audience, versus in the booth you can just close your eyes and just fully imagine yourself as that character. And so I'll kind of warm up a little bit before I'm gonna film for something like Herobrine. So I'll go in the booth, the theater booth, the voiceover booth, and turn off the lights, and then turn on the glowing lights with a color depending on the scene. So for Herobrine, it might be like a deep red or something that kind of conveys
Interesting,
like anger or agitation. And then I'll kind of get in the headspace, close my eyes, imagine the character. And even though you are only using the voice, even though only the voice is being recorded, I'm using my full body, right? I'm very much doing the motions, very much like, if you watch like Dragon Ball Z behind the scenes of the voice actors, like when Goku is screaming or fighting or whatever, he's like fully doing the motions. Sean Schimmel, the voice actor, he's not just standing there with his arms behind his back and putting it all in his voice. He's like
right,
fully in character, as if he was on a film set. And so if you get enough in that zone, the line between me and the character becomes blurred, and I feel like I am that character. And that's definitely a state that I've achieved when voicing Herobrine, because I've worked with that character for a while, and I feel like I have a good understanding of that character, that I kind of get in the booth, warm up. Sometimes I'll put up a picture of that character on the computer or something, and then just like imagine myself as them and just do lines and just get really into it and the emotions they would be feeling, and really just let that line between me and them blur.
Interesting. That's very interesting, because like I don't know really much about this kind of stuff, because I've done very small voiceover projects. I almost have more of a singing range, because I do sing here and there, but I don't have, like, it's hard for me to get into a specific character. I think I could do like the bare bones villains, but anywhere near what you do, that's not gonna happen. So.
Yeah. There's totally a difference between reading lines and trying to sound evil versus actually being pulled into the character. Like there's a huge difference between that. And that's not something that I was able to achieve until later on.
Right. But no, yeah, that's fascinating information. Because obviously when I wrote Herobrine, I can't even. I should pull up what I actually the first thing I ever the first like thing that I said to you in the actual order thing, not in the messages, but in the actual order thing. I'm gonna actually pull it up now because I'm very curious. But when I obviously created Herobrine as a character, I had a very specific set of kind of not rules, but kind of like personality things that I wanted to make sure he had in him. Because again, he's a super like evil villain. He obviously he's angry, because a lot of the times his plans aren't going the way he envisioned them to go. So he kind of gets angry. He's also very menacing. Like I said, the first time you see him in the series, he straight up kills somebody. He has no remorse. He stabs them, and he just watches them die. Like, that is complete, utter evil right there. Like, I don't know how much evil you can get. So, when I envisioned that, I was like, I need someone to absolutely, like, I don't even know what I said it to myself at the time. I'm like, I need someone to somehow adhere to my crazy expectations here, because this guy needs to be menacing, but he also needs to be angry, but he also needs to be completely psychotic, like like that kind of stuff. And so I had kind of a very specific set of like internal requirements. I did find it. Hang on, it's taking Fiverr takes forever to load. But when like I said, when I found your page, I'm like, this guy's absolutely going to be able to do it. Because everyone else I had found, I'm like, I honestly don't hear it. I don't hear them doing it. I don't hear them becoming the character. I don't hear them fitting every criteria that I need. Like, maybe they were evil, but they weren't angry. Like, they didn't, like, whatever. But when I found you, I'm like, oh, absolutely. This guy is going to full send it. He's got it. I need no further instructions on what I need to do.
I love that, and I love to hear that, and that's like when I was very new at this too. So, I think that I had a pretty good baseline understanding of it from other acting I had done before getting into voice acting, and Herobrine, I've done a bunch of Herobrine orders as I've improved over time, so I've kind of grown with the character.
Right. Also, I completely lied to everybody. The first thing we did together was not the season 5 finale, where he just straight up murders someone. It's I've just been lying this entire time, apparently. It's I don't even remember which this one was.
Lying is very evil, I approve.
Yeah, okay, so it's when he first gets, okay, that makes more sense from a storytelling perspective. It's his first foray into the digital void. That makes a lot more sense. As a story writer, when I was listening to myself, I'm like, did I give him an introduction outside of that? Because if I didn't, then I didn't do it right. But apparently I did without knowing it. So either way, but I'm more talking about the season 5 finale, because that's where you really get a vision of what he is. Because also, I don't think people knew who he was back then, because he didn't name drop himself until on her deathbed, Sayori asks for his name. But just like those types of villains are absolutely terrifying. They are, right, to me as a reader, as a watcher, whatever, they are terrifying, because it's like this person is completely psychotic. They have no, like, this, they were willing to kill anybody they need to get in their way. It's just, this person needs to be stopped. And
yeah, that's an example of, like, we were talking about stories that, that is the kind of character that was needed for that. Herobrine isn't needed to be like some morally gray, complex character. He's just needed to be evil. So, that is an example of a story that type of character works excellent in.
Right. John, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, it reminds me, if you ever seen the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, the three main villains, the three main antagonists are like, season 1, you're dealing with Zuko a lot. Season 2, you're dealing with Azula, and season 3, you're dealing with Ozai. And like from Zuko to Ozai, there's like this range of, like, Zuko he's antagonist, but he's like not evil. He's not a bad person. He's just doing what he thinks he needs to do, and he has a whole character arc, and he gets redeemed. Right? Spoilers for a show that's older than I am. And then you got Azula, who is a lot more villainous. They are also part of, like, a little bit of doing things because that's how they were raised. That's where they came from. But just a lot less of that redeeming quality. And then there's Ozai, who's like, he's not redeemable. His entire goal is to murder everybody, which is not exactly a good thing. And so having that, like, those range of villains works really well for that show. So I totally get what you're saying there.
Right. Yeah, I think when I go back to the three different, so there's obviously a multitude of different like villain types, but the main three that are always brought up is pure evil, which we've already talked about, influenced, which we've kind of talked about, and then broken, which John just kind of influenced there with one of the. I haven't watched that honestly, so I don't remember the name, but the one that's like he's doing it because he thinks he has to, or he's doing things because he thinks it's the right thing to do. Those are the broken ones, where they've been hurt by something in their past, they've been ostracized by society, however you want to look at it, whatever the backstory is, something broke them to this point. Influenced is a mixture of that, and then also they were influenced by an exterior force, like someone in their life, an event that happened in their life, they were influenced by something to become evil. And then you have pure evil, which is their motive is completely evil. They have nothing. They just want someone dead, or they just want the universe dead, whatever their goal is, right? And then once you break those three categories down, you kind of go into more minute categories, like subcategories. And when it comes to Herobrine, he fits into a very specific subcategory of the pure evil, because yes, he's pure evil, but I think he also fits more into he just wants to get to a means to an end. That's all he does, is he wants to serve somebody, because he obviously tries to join Char's team, and then she dies, and then so he's kind of on his own. And so when he's on his own, he is scrambling to figure out how to stop the protagonist, because now that his main kind of leader, if you think about it, is killed, he's kind of on his own, and then he eventually gets recruited by MDAC, who is like this mega evil corporation. So he's kind of the people he keeps around isn't obviously the best. So he's part influence, but also part pure evil. So he fits into this kind of very niche, like subcategory. And I've already written how Herobrine's story ends, and I'm obviously not even going to go near that today. But I've already written how it ends, and it goes obviously along the same lines of he's pure evil. You've seen him in action, and you as a viewer and as a reader, however you want to look at it, is like, this guy needs to be stopped in some capacity. So yeah, I think, I haven't counted all of them, but I think me and Chase have done like close to 15, I think.
Yeah, you're definitely the person I've done the most orders with.
Yeah, I think I want to say it's around 15, because I remember even saying in one of the messages, like, oh, it's the 15th order or something, whatever I said.
You've given me lots of good reviews that have been very helpful, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there should be like a 6-star option, but a 5-er's not going to abide by that one.
Something funny, what you were talking about, like, about knowing the fate of the characters or future events. A lot of people think that voice actors have inside information about story elements that are coming, or they like know things ahead of time about when shows are returning, or like, what'll happen with the plot, but like we don't know any more than anybody else does. We're also just waiting, and we're also excited to see the direction the story takes.
Yeah, and I to your point, actually, I think it's almost better if people don't know, because if they don't know, then when they're ready to get into the character, obviously they need to know when the script hits the table, but like you're saying, like Chase doesn't know. He does what I just talked about. He doesn't know how the story ends. He doesn't know how Herobrine's story ends. He doesn't know how the whole story ends. And I think it's good that it's like that, because then when I give Chase his next lines for his next script for Herobrine, it's gonna be true. He's not gonna be like, oh, I knew this was coming, like that type of thing. It's like, all right, here we go. It's gonna be like, oh, I was not expecting this to happen. It's that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's very common for like professional voice actors to not have the script ahead of time, and I've heard this. If you're working with like on like animes and stuff, I haven't worked on a like high level anime, but I've heard that's a very common thing in that or in video games, that to not get a script ahead of time, to look it over and prepare, but to actually like see it for the first time in the studio when you're going to be recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know much about voice acting, but I can definitely see that as being a advantage into pulling yourself into the actual character, because you didn't know this was happening, so you're kind of surprised along with everybody else.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's times where I've seen people be like, "Oh, this actor knows what's gonna happen because they said this in an interview." And then the actor's like, "Listen, man, I just work here. I don't know anything."
It's kind of like when people, I always take this when, like if Nintendo or somebody will make a comment on Twitter and people will like analyze every tiny little word. I remember there was a there was a time when Nintendo posted a picture of Mario with two seeds on him. He was like laying on the beach and he had like two watermelon seeds in the food he was eating. And the caption was, "We hope you all have a great summer in the sunshine." And people were like analyzing it so closely. They're like, "Is this a hint at Super Mario Sunshine 2?" And I'm like, I'm on a marketing team at a company, so my perspective of this is thinking about just like this is probably just is some like marketing person who has no insight on the games that are coming, who's just like making a fun post, but people think there is coming from like this secret development like hints and stuff.
Listen, I'm not going to confirm or deny that I'm part of the we demand Sunshine 2 category, but listen, I want Sunshine 2. But no, like I saw that post too, and I saw people looking into it. And because it was took place in the summer, because it was in the summer, I'm like, guys, this is obviously just a promotional thing. This is not for a game. And I could see why people would think that, but it's one of those things, like you said, where you got to look at it from a couple of perspectives. If you only look at it in the sense that this is a hint towards a new game, and Sunshine is in the caption, you're obviously gonna be like, "Oh yeah, this is Sunshine 2, guys. Let's post about this everywhere." Whereas if you look at it from different perspectives, it's like, "Oh, this could just be a marketing thing. This could just be them posting because they haven't posted in a while." It could be a multitude of different reasons.
Yeah. Well, actually, being on a marketing team, I'm at a marketing team for a large electrical contractor. And so I kind of see what the relationship is like between the marketing team and the executives. And it's not, it's not like the project managers or the executives are having direct input on everything that a marketing team posts. A lot of times a marketing team will just post stuff that they think is fun or is beneficial to the image of the company. In my perspective, that's probably just somebody on the Nintendo marketing team just had a fun idea, wanted to put it out there, but then everyone thinks it's like secret insider hints or whatever. But it's probably just somebody having fun on the marketing team.
Right, exactly.
There was a post I saw a long time ago. Just going back to the game I mentioned, Kingdom Hearts. For those who don't know, it's like a mix between Final Fantasy and Disney, right? And there was like a shit post that an actor who played one of the villains did, but he delivered a line from a Goofy movie, which is like this kids movie, as the voice of the villain he plays, and just for like shits and giggles. And people were like, "Oh my goodness, characters from a Goofy movie are gonna be in this game, and they're gonna be evil." It's like that's not what was happening there. It was clearly a joke.
Yeah, that's a prime example of the internet looking too much into something. But we are nearing the end of the episode here, so before we go, I am curious, Chase, do you have any additional tips and tricks for like up and coming voice actors? Like what helps? Obviously, you kind of already mentioned how you get into character, but any additional like tips and tricks you can give out to anybody?
Mm-hmm. I would say this kind of applies to any skill, any trade, but people have a tendency to overthink getting started on something and not want to get started till they're perfect. The best way to get started on something is to just do it, even if you're embarrassed about how it sounds. Oh, no, that's another thing too. Everybody thinks their voice sounds weird when they listen to it. When I first started putting my voice out there, I thought it sounded weird to hear. You're like self-conscious about it. It's like weird to hear, but the more you practice with it and the more you record and the more you listen and hear your voice, like I feel very confident hearing my voice now and how it sounds, just because I've paid so much. I've listened to it so much and I've like developed the way that I speak, and I'm very like intentional with every word that I speak, and I'm just used to hearing it. So it'll be weird at first, but just do it. Just practice, even if you don't publish anything. A bunch of my first stuff was just fan dubs. I think that's a pretty good place to start. I would take clips from Dragon Ball or clips from a video game and just silence the audio on the clip and then just practice voicing it. Like, if I got hired for this character, what would that sound like? And so just do that. Practice if there's a particular type of character you feel drawn to. Practice with that character, with that character type. Practice with different character types. Practice some villains, practice some heroes, practice some different types of characters, and find out what your niche is. Because everybody has a range. I do everything from deep villains to I got hired to voice Baby Luigi in a Mario and Luigi Partners in Time remake. So
That's crazy.
sometimes I'm in the booth like, I will destroy you. And then sometimes I'm in the booth like, Mama. Like, so that is a wide range. And I love being able to play a wide range of characters. But I know that my niche, that my specialty is villains. And, so really, really developing my niche and really like building a reputation in that specific niche, I think is a good thing to do. And, find out what you're best at, find out what you enjoy the most, and just practice it. And once you practice it with fan dubs and you kind of get like an idea of how it works, then I would say starting on a freelancing website like Fiverr is a good place to start, or there's other ones out there. I actually am at a point now in my career that I have done, like I said, about 70 orders. I think I am well past the point probably that I'm ready to start applying to get like an actual agent or some kind of representation to get higher level work.
Mm-hmm.
This is just, it's just been a side thing mainly for me up until now. I definitely do it at a professional level, but I feel like I'm ready for that next step in my career to actually, find an agent so I can audition for shows, like for actual shows that go on air, like anime, professionally produced anime or video games. I feel like I've developed my skill level to a point where I'm ready for something like that, and I have enough experience that I could confidently go in and know what I'm doing. So, but just start small, do YouTube animations, do stuff with your friends, just make stuff for fun, do little indie video games. And like these small developers on Steam and stuff, they are looking for voice actors. Probably one of my favorite gigs I ever did was like this indie game from a very small company where I was playing a wolf monster, and I was like in the booth biting my own hand, like like for the voice line.
That sounds painful.
It was fun. No, that's the most fun. And then there was a time when I got stabbed and I had to cough up blood, so I would like drink water and then like just like spit it up.
Oh, good. I'm glad you went in that direction and on the direction of, I got stabbed, so I actually had to stab myself. I'm like, please don't go in that direction.
No, real method acting. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, definitely just do it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Just practice. Just have fun with it, man. And it's, that's the point. It's supposed to be fun. Just enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. But just if you enjoy it and you like hearing your voice come out of characters and you like taking on those characters, just have fun with it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And since you're on the podcast, we got to loop you into the running joke on the podcast, which is, of course, so John, TLDR, and John, do you want to tell the story or you want me to tell the story?
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Okay. So, you can tell it if you want.
Yeah, so basically the running joke is we had an episode where we were talking about dreams we had, like as a child, nightmares, stuff like that. And in one of them, when I was quite young, I had a dream that I was like pretend sword fighting with my brother, and we were going back and forth, and like he knocks the sword out of my hand, and he goes, "You lose." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." He's like, "No, you don't lose the game. You lose your life." And then he stabbed me, and we just keep referencing this weird dream I had as a kid.
It's literally, I don't know, like, because when he first said it, I don't think it really became much, and then we started referencing it over and over again, and the viewers started loving it, and so now it's a recurring joke that whenever we say you didn't lose the game, you lose your life, then you then have to talk about how John got stabbed in his dream. And so when you said that your character got stabbed or whatever, all I could think about was that. So I had to loop you into the joke, otherwise it wouldn't make sense.
You lose. You didn't lose the game. You lose your life.
There you go. Yep, you heard it here. That's exactly what John's brother sounds like. So, but yeah, going back to the voice thing, that's absolutely true. I mean, that's just a thing you're going to face no matter what. Is when I first started YouTube, because that's when I first started putting myself out there. I'm like, who is this garbage YouTuber? This guy sounds really stupid. What is he doing on here? Get him out of here. But eventually, I kind of worked my way up to like, oh, this sounds it's just my voice. It just sounds normal.
Right.
It's not weird anymore. I hear it all the time now because I do YouTube, then this, then other stuff. So it's one of those things that I hear it all the time now that it's normal.
Yeah. The other thing, if you're going to put yourself out there in any kind of creative form, you have to be ready for criticism. No matter what you put out, there is going to be people who hate it. There's going to be people who love it. You know, I go to the comments sections of certain things that sound, you know, very amateur, and there's people in the comments like, this sounds amazing. And then I go to the comment section of things that sound like awesome, and then there's haters, right? There's people saying this is horrible. Some things I upload, the same clip sometimes, I'll upload like a short of just something I'm doing for fun. And some of the comments are like, oh, that's awesome. This is better than the official. And then some comments are like, dude, this sounds horrible. You don't fit this character at all. And they're like insulting it. So you'll get criticized. There will be people who compliment you. There will be people who think it's horrible, no matter how good or bad it is. So you can't take that personal. You can't let it get to you. You know, you just got to do it for fun and just accept, you know, I'm going to have people love it and hate it, but whatever. I'm just here for practice and here for fun. So
yeah, and if anyone out there does insult Chase, an FBI strike team will be en route to your current location. So just be prepared for that. Obviously,
very kind of you.
for legal reasons, that's a joke. But yeah, so that's right as well. I mean, I've gotten criticized plenty of times. I actually have laughed at plenty of criticisms because that's how I do it. Is if someone's insulting someone else, I take it down. If they're insulting me, I get a good laugh at it. So you know, that's how I take it. But not everyone's going to take it that way. So if you're more sensitive to that, just be aware that it's going to happen because it's not going to be a thing where like everyone's going to love you, right? That's not how the world works. So just be prepared. Just have a shield ready. That's kind of all we can really say for that.
Dude, I don't know. The stuff that people comment on there is just, I don't know. There's like no point. There was one I made and I thought it sounded really cool. Like I was proud of it. And the first comment that came in, they were like, this doesn't sound evil at all. You sound like an angry elf. And I'm like, what? Why was you even? What is the point? What is the point? I mean, if I get like a particular comment like that, I'm like, okay, whatever. That person is clearly just, I don't know. They're just looking to be rude. You know, you know, I'm always happy to hear genuine criticism or genuine feedback. I know sometimes people are just being rude, but you can't let that stuff get under your skin. You just got to go on with your day and realize that this is part of the industry.
Yeah, there's always going to be strange and rude people out there. I mean, John got offered to pour milk on his head for money on Twitch. So really, there's just no...
Did you do it?
No.
No. Mainly because I didn't believe them. I was like, you're not going to get money. So I'm not going to do that.
I asked him later, I'm like, if Mr. Beast came in your thing, though, and said, I'll give you $1,000 to pour milk on your head, he was considering it, but he's like, well, I'd have to, because I think you were back in your old place, John, and I think you had a different setup where if the milk would get on stuff if you had done that or something. So,
dude, I would if I wasn't in the booth, if I was like somewhere that I didn't matter that milk got, I would be down for it. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I don't know, John. What was the original amount they were asking for? Wasn't it like 20 or something? Like they'd pay you 20?
It was like I don't remember the initial amount, but it was like $50, maybe something like that. Like not an insane amount of money, but like if I got it, like that's pretty cool. And they just like kept going up and up and up, and like I see, like the higher you go, the less I believe you. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
One more thing to say about like getting started, you kind of just naturally feel the draw to it, and I felt this at different points, and I like remember the specific moment is I was watching. I kind of had a few moments like this where I was watching a really cool monologue from like Vegeta from Dragon Ball or like Endeavor from My Hero Academia. And it was around 2021. My brain just started doing this thing where when I would listen to those, my brain was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I'd never thought that before. I never really thought that before, and it just started. Those thoughts started coming into my brain, and I started exploring it. Same recently, like last year or the year before, I think it was last year, that I was watching shows and paying attention to character arcs and writing and development, and my brain started going, I want to do that, right? So then I got into writing stuff. So it should never be forced. You should never you got to work hard at it, of course, but you'll just if that is something that you are meant to do, I think you'll feel that draw, and don't question it. Just if you feel drawn to it, explore it. If you don't feel drawn to it, there's plenty of other things to do, but you'll kind of just naturally feel it if you're supposed to do it.
Right. That's pretty good advice, sound advice as well. So Chase, the way we do things around here is every time, so each episode there's a host, and that was me today, and the host has to dish out points to the contenders, and and the person with the most points wins the episode. And so John, you had 24 points, and Chase, you had 24 as well. However, I gave you a bonus 30 points because you voiced Herobrine, one of my personal favorite characters, over on the ARG. So Chase, you win. And what does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. There's no prize. Yeah. The prize is the glory of winning, I guess.
Dude.
So there you go.
I'm stoked, bro. I'm stoked.
You will get.
What are the points for? How do you calculate it?
It's just like engagement with like these types of topics. It's just engagement and like that kind of stuff. Sometimes we'll do games as well. Like we'll play games, and that it's dependent on how the game works. Sometimes.
I like how my amount of bonus points from Herobrine was set so that even if I got 0 engagement points, I still would have beat John's 24 that he got from fucking the whole episode.
Yep, exactly. See, now you're starting to understand the patriarchy over here.
Sorry, John, man. That's rough for you, bro.
Yeah, sucks to suck, John. Next time, get stabbed in your dream better.
Hey, you gotta voice Herobrine next, bro. If you want to win an episode.
Yeah, see, John, you just gotta voice act a bunch of villains, and then you'll get some bonus points. I mean, come on now. This is honestly this loss is your fault, and you could have avoided this. So really, it's just it's on you.
Yeah, you should have thought ahead about this, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope we provoked a conversation, made you laugh along the way. You can find Chase in a couple different places. So Chase, I'm just going to promote your Fiverr, but if you want to promote anything else, let me know. But you can find him on Fiverr at, I think it's, if you just type in Chase Hartman, you'll see it. I don't know, let me see, what's your actual Fiverr username? It's literally just Chase Hartman. So you just look that up, you'll find him, and
just put a link in the description. That would be good. Also, if we could link my YouTube channel, I have some behind the scenes work on there. You can I record myself filming in the booth, actually voicing in the booth, and kind of you can get a behind the scenes look where I'll take an order and kind of break it down. Which actually, if you're wondering about the process of voice acting, that is a good thing to check out, because I show the screen, I show what I see when an order initially comes in. I look at the script, and then I'll kind of look at references they give me, and I'll show my thought process of breaking down how I want to approach it, and then I'll actually show myself filming it and doing different takes, and then I'll show myself editing it a little bit and putting it together, and then communicating with the client, the back and forth, if any revisions, and then just the whole process with their permission, of course. So, if you're wondering about getting into voice acting, that's a pretty cool resource for you to check out on my channel.
There you go. You heard the man. So go head over to those links, or if you just want to type in Chase Hartman voiceover or voice actor on YouTube, right? That's the name of it.
Yep. Just look up Chase Hartman voice actor. It'll come up.
You'll find that, and then over on his Fiverr as well. Make sure you go check out that as well. And if you need some good villains in your life, whether it be for a script or for a story you're writing or for a play you're doing, whatever it might be, place him as a gig because he's amazing, as you've already seen.
Thank you.
So go check him out. You can also find John on Twitch. You can find him in 3 places actually. Twitch at Jeebens Phoebens, and then on YouTube at Jeebens Phoebens and Jeebens Phoebens VODs. So go check him out. All of the stuff over there. You can find me just on YouTube. I do have a Twitch, but I do not stream at the moment, so you can follow it if you want, but there's not going to be any content over there. So Flapsticks Gaming, of course, on YouTube, but you already probably knew that. You can find us as a podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Provokers Pod and the Provokers Podcast official, respectively. We also have the YouTube channel, so it's a new YouTube channel. It's not tied to my channel anymore, so if you didn't get the memo, we have a new YouTube channel specifically for the podcast called the Provokers Podcast, obviously. So it is not tied to my YouTube channel anymore, so make sure you go follow that one. And then, of course, we have the songs. So we have Next Up John, Next Up Ethan on Spotify, Amazon Music, anything that you listen to music on. Pretty solid stuff, so go check it out. We have the Provokers musical coming out soon as well. I think probably next episode I'll be ready to promote that. So keep your eyes peeled for that one.
Yeah.
And,
Ethan, I'm glad we finally got to meet because we've been working together for a long time, and you're always an incredibly pleasant and very friendly and generous person to work with. So I'm glad we got the chance to talk finally.
Yeah, thank you. And I will. It's not the end. Like I said, Brian's story is not even really close to being done here. He's still got some more stuff that needs to happen, basically. Some more nexus points.
Do you want me to voice the character? I'm happy to do it indefinitely for you.
Yep, of course.
John, you also were very nice as well, and I enjoyed meeting you and getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, so like I said, go follow everyone that we just said. Go hire Chase as a voice actor if you need some good villains. He obviously does other stuff, so if you don't need a villain, he does other stuff as well. But
You're a mean
like
old man.
Get off my lawn. So yeah, make sure you go do that, and then we have the Patreon as well. If you're curious, and like actually Chase has mentioned before, for his behind the scenes, if you want our behind the scenes, we have a Patreon over there. That's the Provokers Podcast. We have obviously the different tiers and the different benefits you get from the tiers. We also have the extended cut. So if you want a bonus episode that doesn't really relate to the main set of episodes, head over to the extended cuts. The first five are like $3, so you can kind of dip your toes in, see if you like it or not. If you don't, it's $3. That's less than a Big Mac nowadays. And I think that's going to do it for today's episode. So thank you guys again so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.